Welcome to Stardust Stereo. I'm Parker McPhinney. I'm your host. Today is the 19th of November, year 2024. Today I'm going to speak about Pluto re-entering Aquarius Act III, because this is the third time it has entered Aquarius. The first time was on March 24th, 2023, and I did a series of podcasts about this. If you go to Buzzsprout.com and you look up Stardust Stereo, or you just Google Stardust Stereo Astrology, all my podcasts will come up. And if you scroll down to March 23rd, 2023, I have a whole episode on Pluto entering Aquarius. And then in April of 2023, I did a series of Pluto in the sky going through the various houses. So if you have your birth chart, then you can look and see where this tremendous big shift for the third time is happening in your chart. Where Pluto is in your chart, in your birth chart, shows where the changes will manifest if you allow them to, and sometimes even if you don't, because the universe has a tricky way of presenting new circumstances to us. It's how we react to those circumstances that determine whether it's a good fit or a struggle. Pluto is often, in my mind, associated with a snake shedding a skin, and it does so extremely slowly. In a way, we could view this as reinventing our own self. So this Pluto in the sky will re-enter Aquarius. The first time it was in Aquarius was March 23rd, 2023. And then the second time was January 22nd, 2024. And now this third time, it will be in Aquarius for 20 years. This placement of Pluto in Aquarius, I'm going to speak a little bit more on than I did in the previous episode in 2023, because we have some exciting interaction with the other planets coming up in 2025. And I believe, in my mind's eye anyway, this will help facilitate the channel in which Pluto in Aquarius can travel. This placement to me is a transformational resurrection, because Pluto is always about transcendence, rising from the ashes, how you utilize your personal empowerment, and also how you deal with the powers that are perceived in the outer world, the world outside of your inner world. Your inner world being your consciousness. I've thought a great deal about electromagnetic waves and how this placement of Pluto in Aquarius could bring us to a new understanding of the vibe we put out and the vibe we allow in. Aquarius is about distribution. Pluto's about transformation. On a really positive level, we could look at this final entrance into Pluto for 20 years as an opportunity for our collective consciousness to rise above pettiness and seeing how we can come closer to our own individual enlightened mind, and therefore collectively everybody vibrating on a higher consciousness level. It's also associated with just putting out good vibes, not feeding this fear-mongering, war-mongering mindset that if we don't destroy this or that, we won't survive. I think that a better way to approach this Pluto in Aquarius is, how can I continue to contribute to my own higher evolution and therefore the evolution of mankind? How can I help my fellow human being suffer less? This starts with the thinking process, what we allow in our conscious mind in the form of ideas and words to then affect our mood. Thoughts do affect our mood, and radioactivity affects our mood and our emotion. I think that we're going to learn a great deal about quantum, electromagnetic interaction and the universe. Those are big words. Those are big words that are hard to attach to a image. But think of it as the thoughts that you put out are interactive with the energy force that the universe puts out, and they commingle. And when these thoughts and energies are of a higher positive nature, then a magic can manifest, and we can feel that our potential as human beings is greater. Technology, which Aquarius also represents, is growing at a rapid speed. And as it grows, yes, AI will eventually become extremely predominant in our lives, in some good ways and probably some undesirable ways, because human nature tends to, in the lower energies, try to exploit things to their own gain. But what I'm talking about is the entire collective gaining. How can we capture this Pluto in Aquarius and elevate our own magnetic field to a level of understanding that we're one? That's a lot of word salad. So I'll condense it down to this. Power comes from your breath. Pluto is in an air sign as of 12:30 this afternoon. And so the power of your breath is one tool that you can utilize to elevate your mood and to clear the palette of the mind to receive information from your higher consciousness. If you're a meditator, you know that when you try to sit in the silence, and I say silence because it is something that doesn't always come easily, but you still show up and sit. And when you train and discipline yourself to sit in that silence, well, this is for me personally, I can say, and I've been meditating for over 20 years every single day. What can happen is, if you've got a problem or something and you put it out to the universe, oh, help me solve this problem. I just can't seem to find the answer to it. Universe of never-ending knowledge, please shoot me a clue. And what will happen is, well, for me, is that either in a dream or in meditation, a solution will just shoot through like an arrow. Just like, oh, here's a telegram. And I'm just like, brilliant, right there. Yay, I'll give that a go. So if we have a steady practice using our breath, focusing on our breath of inhale, exhale, like the ocean sound. In Ashtanga Yoga, it's called Ujjayi breathing. You breathe through the nose and you breathe deep and you make that sound of the tide coming in and out. And doing this gets you into a other consciousness state of mind, a state of acute awareness and relaxation. I'm going to pitch a book now. I don't know why I don't get sponsorship for doing all this, but I don't. Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. This was given to me as a gift, and it is an excellent book, and I highly recommend it. I'm sure it's at your library. Check it out. It epitomizes this Pluto in Aquarius and everything I just talked about. Networking, groups, and how the collective comes together to hear its voice heard is also on the table to be a big oxygen tank that will not be silenced. And we just saw this in the USA election, which a lot of people are upset about. But by looking at that map of all that red and a tiny bit of blue, I would say that 95% of the people are very happy. Now, if we expand our consciousness and we look and we go, oh, well, let's focus on the collective movement of how we can better our lives. And if 95% of the people are not happy with the way the world is going in America, the way the government is shifting, and what's happened in the last 4 years, if 95% are so unhappy, then let's reevaluate. And let's see how both parties can come together and make good changes. Because in my mind's eye, you can't have peace if you don't learn how to talk with the other party or the enemy. And since Pluto in Aquarius is about breath, and we need to breathe, and you will always talk better, converse better, if you're breathing properly. If you've ever been around somebody who is in a frantic state, they're shallow breathing. So in order to reach across the aisle, reach to the neighbor, reach to the person that has different values than you, you have to breathe deep and be conscious of your words and contemplate the collective versus the individual and how we can learn to be tolerant of those that have different views than ourselves. Now, the Pluto in Aquarius is going to make some very fascinating interaction with other planets coming up here in the spring. In March, Neptune is going to go into Aries, and in May, Saturn will go into Aries, and then I believe it's in July of 2025 that Uranus will go into Gemini. Let me check that. Yes, in July, the first week in July, Uranus, the planet of inventions, which rules Aquarius, will enter the sign of Gemini, the twins, and communication. Powerful communication will be the result. Maybe it'll be a step up of how we receive our information, because right now we have a lot of confusion around information. How you know your information is pure and true requires an enormous amount of cross-referencing, because media has kind of gone a little crazy. We put Russia to shame with our level of propaganda going on. And I know that because I'm an avid researcher and I see very clearly the media lies. I mean, it's just blatant lies. I'm not going to go into the references of those because anybody who has paid any attention in the last year can see it for yourself. Well, I'll give one example. Biden's debate with Trump, and then the media told us that what we saw with our own eyes was no, he's fine. He's been fine. I mean, please. So we are going to see when Uranus goes into Gemini, it will create a magnificent relationship with this Pluto. So we will have 3 of the outer planets interacting with Pluto in Aquarius in 2025 in a magnificent way. It can mean new forms of communication. And for me, that means psychic communication begins to take a foothold. And so as you think, so the other person hears. You know, the old masters say, watch your thoughts. And it's because if you put a thought out there, the universe hears it. And also if you're gossiping, the person that you're gossiping about, or whatever you're gossiping about, the people involved, they hear it too. Even if you think they don't, they do, on a psychic level. And at one point, I believe by 2035, we will begin to understand that psychically messages are sent in a very conscious way, not just unconsciously. You know, everybody has psychic, not everybody, but a lot of people have psychic experiences. They're thinking of somebody, then that person calls. To me, that's you're picking up on the psychic vibration waves, and you know that they're calling before they even call. That is what I'm making reference to when Uranus enters Gemini, the ability and the power of the thought and how you utilize it, and utilizing it in a positive, uplifting way. Saturn will enter into Aries at the end of May, and Saturn intertwining with Pluto in Aquarius can indicate that we begin to understand stem cell research on new levels, that they make breakthroughs with stem cell research. I see that the Pluto going in Aquarius means that in a scientific way we can advance tremendously, especially in areas of disease. And then at the end of March, Neptune will enter into Aries as well. And so Pluto and Neptune intertwining, to me, indicates that there will be headway in understanding and maybe even healing Alzheimer's and dementia, and understanding the nature of what causes these diseases. So this is very exciting. And I want to give you a quote by the great Marcia Moore, who was a co-author of Astrology, the Divine Science, which I bought on my 23rd birthday, a hell of a long time ago. And when I think that I did not even fathom that many decades later, I would still be reading and using this fantastic book as a reference while I was doing a podcast, which the word podcast didn't even exist when I bought this book. That's how fabulous the world is. As distances shrink, owing to Uranian inventions, the mind must expand to encompass new visions. So think about that. We have to expand beyond where we are, and we can, and it's exciting. And we have an exciting world in front of us with these outer planets changing. Great new things are going to happen. And you can make them happen with your own intention of your plan of how you want to create new seeds of growth within your life. Airplanes, radios, TVs, all of these will be subject to transformations and going beyond whatever level that they've been at before now. Different uses. Air travel specifically will probably go through a big shift and change. And definitely with Pluto and Aquarius, our airplanes need to be upgraded and repaired. Aquarius rules ankles, the circulatory system, and your aura. An interesting bit of my research went into the fact that esoterically, Jupiter rules Aquarius. And so therefore, the expanding of the mind can unite. It can unite people from other cultures. The sharing of new inventions can create goodwill. The deepening of bonds of friendship. Pluto in Aquarius is, if anything, it's the power of friendship and the power of prayers and also collective thinking. The flip side is the group think, where it won't let any other idea in. So you need a round table to allow many people to partake, even those, like I said earlier, that you do not agree with. As you send thoughts psychically from yourself to others, just like the phone, make sure they're loving, happy, uplifting, healing thoughts. I also flashed that we would have breakthroughs on situations where people are paralyzed, and that in this next 20 years, perhaps we will understand ways to help people who can't walk again. That would be pretty awesome. Pluto in Aquarius is the universalist. And I'm really of the mindset that we can all change and shift our thinking to become much broader than it currently is. And even if we just move that decimal over 1 degree, we are contributing to helping mankind grow and excel and become the best it can be. There's one other point I would like to mention, and that's the solstice placement of Pluto in Aquarius. So when Pluto has entered Aquarius at 0 degrees, it will, by its solstice point, be 29 degrees and 59 minutes arc of Scorpio. So those of you that are born in the last degrees of Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo will be going through in this next 12 months, and probably have already been going through, and I can attest to that, yes, already going through, tremendous change. Tremendous understanding of rising above the ashes like the phoenix, shedding that skin that the snake does, and reinventing yourself. And those of you who are born at the 0 degrees, the first 2 degrees, 0 to 2, 3 degrees of Aquarius in this next year, 2025, and as you've been going through since Pluto first entered Aquarius. So the same fixed signs, Aquarians, Leos, Taurus, Scorpios at that very early degree, tremendous change. So it's the alpha and the omega of the fixed signs are the ones that truly are dealing with the tremendous heat to change and grow and go beyond where you've been. And my wish is that we all grow and go beyond where we have been and make use of this time that we have on the earth to facilitate great love, compassion, and transcendence beyond this petty thinking of I, and get to the broader vision of we. We as a planet of human beings that have the potential to just fly. I'm Parker McPhinney. This is Stardust Stereo. Thank you for listening. I'd like to thank my patrons. You know who you are. If you'd like to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/ParkerMcP. And I want to remind you, you are made of stardust. So go shine.